there were a lot of people asking about whether or not this was real, and the rumors kept flying around, and it was just a matter of time before they announced the 865 Plus as being official. And here it is, and just in time because it looks like a couple phones are going to start to carry this Snapdragon 865 Plus chipset. Whether or not you're excited, I let me know. I think this is, obviously a higher performing uh, internal for a smartphone, but at what cost? I think the true successor to this 865 or 865 Plus will be the Snapdragon 875. That will actually, I thought I read an article that said that it might be released later in the fourth quarter of 2020, but for sure, at least in the first quarter of 2021. So let's get into it. This article from Tech Radar says Android gaming phones are about to get faster thanks to the Snapdragon 865 Plus. And I wonder if that's the target they're trying to, or that's the demographic they're trying to target here, is maybe make a bigger mainstay or a bigger focus on gaming. Again, I am not the biggest gamer when it comes to mobile. I have my own PC. I play on Steam, and I would rather play on that or maybe a console than on mobile. But this is a direction that I can see happening. There is a small niche right now for gaming phones and people who want to play games on their phones, and I think it's a matter of time before a lot of these phones are able to just dock up right onto. I mean, I think you can do some of this already, but basically take your phone, turn it into kind of a PC, right? Hook it up onto a bigger monitor, a bigger display, hook a controller up wirelessly, and then just have at it. So Qualcomm's enhanced chipset will appear in the gaming-focused Asus ROG 3 phone. There we go. So I guess, is this the first phone that's going to have it? The Asus ROG 3? I think that was the rumor, but nothing was really confirmed. So new Android phones are about to hit a gaming-themed speed boost in the latter half of 2020, thanks to the debut of an enhanced version of the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset. Qualcomm Snap 865 Plus will arrive in the Asus ROG Phone 3 first. Okay, so yeah, the first one, according to the chipset manufacturer, and it'll boast faster CPU, GPU, and Wi-Fi speed. So yes, even though gaming is important for a small, niche of people, I also want to know what else this Snap 865 Plus is going to have other than just a higher price point. Qualcomm Snap 865, okay, I just read that. It'll also be coupled with the same speedy 5G modem as found in the Snap 865 chipset. This is a small bump over the 140 devices that carry to the Snap 865. There's 140 devices right now using the Snap 865. Why do I feel like that's such a high number? Anyway, which was first introduced in the Samsung Galaxy S20 earlier this year, you'll experience a 10% uptick in the CPU clock speeds and 10% faster graphics rendering. That's a question too, is so 10% faster clock speeds, 10% faster graphics rendering. Is this really going to matter at the end of the day for most people? I would think not. I mean, obviously it's welcoming, right? There's nothing wrong with faster CPU power, faster GPU power, but at what cost does it become? I mean, for me, it's like, at what cost is it too much? Because already a lot of us, me included, we're already kind of like, well, I'm not paying that much money for a Snapdragon 865 because it's so expensive already. These phones are so much money. And now there's going to be a newer version, a higher end version of the 865. But again, at what cost? Gaming phones are becoming a thing really All of this serves the needs of a growing list of the best gaming phones. There are a few standout gaming phones, including the existing Asus ROG 2, the Razer Phone 2, both from PC makers that have turned attentions to phones. But neither device has sold earth-shattering amounts. Instead, the Snap 865 Plus has a more important role to play in smartphones from mainstream companies that are betting big on mobile gaming. Samsung and OnePlus are constantly highlighting the gaming capabilities of their new handsets. That said, we're unlikely to see the Snap 865 Plus in the new crop, of Galaxy Note 20 phones? Wait. Um, Last year's Note 10 and Note 10 Plus skipped the 855 Plus chipset, but we did see the chipset arrive in the Galaxy Z Flip in early 2020. I really thought that the Galaxy Note 20 was going to have the 865 Plus. I just assumed that that was the natural progression of essentially a Galaxy Note 20 that's just like a Galaxy S20 or S20 Plus Ultra, whatever. I would have assumed that if you want to stand out from the S20 Plus or the S20 Ultra, then you're going to go ahead and put the Snapdragon 865 Plus in it. But maybe the only biggest differentiator of the Galaxy Note 20 is the S Pen and the fact that they're going to fix the autofocus in its camera. Maybe that's enough to justify buying a Note 20 over an S20. Again, I really thought they were going to put a Snap 865 Plus in it. Also, that was a joke, by the way. I feel bad for anyone that has an S20 Ultra that's dealing with autofocus issues on their camera. That's a lot of money to spend on a phone that's having issues. I don't know how much of an issue that is still today, but from what I've heard, it's still an issue. After the Asus ROG 3, expect the inevitable OnePlus 8T to push the envelope when it comes to mobile chip clock speeds and gaming performance. It's the type of small performance boost that Android phone manufacturers will love to talk about when going head-to-head with Apple's iPhone 12. That's really interesting because, obviously the OnePlus 8T is most likely going to incorporate the Snap 865 Plus on it, because why would they release another phone 6 months down the road and not try to pack it with whatever they can to tell people that the OnePlus 8 is no longer the phone to buy. Now it's the 8T. Now it's the 8T Pro. And, we have this new 865 Plus chipset in here, and it's 10% faster, although it's still probably not as fast as the current chipset in an iPhone 11 Pro or an 11 Pro Max. But it also begs to question, what is the price of this Galaxy Note 20 going to be? Well, no, now it's not even going to have an 865 Plus. So what is the price of a Note 20 going to be? But what's the price of a OnePlus 8T going to be? What's the price of an 8T Pro? And I've been saying this for quite a bit. I really don't think that OnePlus should be increasing the prices of the 8T or the 8T Pro. Instead, they should just keep those prices and then knock the price down of the current OnePlus 8 and OnePlus 8 Pro. Either knock it down. I mean, if you want to be like you want to save your profit margins or whatever, drop $50 off of it. But I would think dropping $100 off of it would be even better. But that's the Snapdragon 865 Plus. I do have this other story here from Ars Technica just to make sure that we cover all the bases of the 865 Plus. So it's saying here that it packs Wi-Fi 6E. That's, I think, one thing we didn't note. And then again, higher clock speeds, a 10% increase there. Qualcomm is announcing its mid-cycle chip upgrade today, the 865 Plus. These Plus chips are higher clock versions of the major designs that were released earlier in the year, but new for the 865 Plus specifically is Wi-Fi 6E compatibility. So really what they're trying to say is it's an overclocked version of the Snapdragon 865. And it looks like this Wi-Fi 6E is another thing to add into it. So the CPU is officially up to 3.1 gigahertz now. And since the GPU on the Snap 865 runs at 600 megahertz, the Plus version should be up around 660. The big news, though, is the addition of Qualcomm's Fast Connect 6900 connectivity chip, which, along with peak speeds of up to 3.6 gigabits per second, will bring Wi-Fi 6E to smartphones. Currently, Wi-Fi works in the 2.4 and and 5 gigahertz frequencies, but 6E will extend Wi-Fi into the 6 gigahertz spectrum. I wonder, well, I was going to say, I wonder how fast it'll be. And then I quickly read here, theoretical top speeds won't increase, but the extra spectrum will help Wi-Fi work better in crowded areas. So that's good, at least. When they say better in crowded areas, does that mean that, well, I don't, where are you using Wi-Fi in really crowded areas? That's another question. So, I mean, maybe that's on a, per user basis, but for me, specifically for me, I'm not really using Wi-Fi in crowded areas. Maybe it's a thing if you're using Wi-Fi at like a Starbucks or something, but that's not something that happens to me often. For the most part, I'm using Wi-Fi when I'm at home, and no one is really congesting that network except for me. Nobody's really using the bandwidth as much as I am. So yes, again, all of these things are great technologies. Having 6E will help with, dispersing or getting better efficiency when it comes to Wi-Fi. But is this really a deal breaker for most people? Like, would you buy an 865 Plus just because it has 10% faster CPU and GPU and it has Wi-Fi 6E compatibility? Is that worth the extra money you're going to pay for it? Or would you rather save money and then just now buy the outdated Snapdragon 865 processor with whatever phone it comes with? And who knows how much they're really going to take off the price when it comes down to it at the end of the day. So it says here, you can only fit so many bits into the current 2.4 gig and 5 gig airways. Okay, that's right. So yes, obviously it's not just you using that specific Wi-Fi network, but like imagine me being in an apartment building in the city of Chicago, and there's like 50 different Wi-Fi networks in there. So yes, having that 6 gigahertz spectrum will be helpful. But and so like, yeah, like I'm not taking anything away from that, but I will say at the same time, in my apartment, when I'm using right now, I use a Google Wi-Fi or Google Nest Wi-Fi or whatever they call it. It's not, I haven't noticed any kind of real degradation, right? I'm not laying in bed and I'm watching a YouTube video and I'm like, God, I can't watch this YouTube video because it's been downscaled to 360 or whatever, because it's not. It's usually fine. I haven't had many issues when it comes to my personal use for it. Now, if you're having issues, I can totally understand. And maybe then that's a reason to upgrade. But I think at the end of the day, most people probably don't even notice that kind of quality issues when it comes to their Wi-Fi. And I'm not saying don't get something because of, Wi-Fi 6E. I just think about what you're spending, how much you're spending on a phone before you decide that's a deal breaker or it's not a deal breaker. And it says here, if you and all your neighbors are filling the airwaves and causing a traffic jam, everyone will have to slow down. 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi will add more lanes for traffic. So that's a good thing, because as people start to buy these phones that now incorporate Wi-Fi 6E, now there's going to be 2.4 gig, 5 gig, and 6 there. So that's just going to take congestion down overall. So even if you don't buy one and someone else does, that means they might be, helping relieve that congestion. So that's not a bad thing at the end of the day. It says you need a new Wi-Fi 6E access point and a Wi-Fi 6E device in order to use Wi-Fi 6E, which makes sense. So also factor that in, right? If you're buying a new phone and you want to take advantage of Wi-Fi 6E, make sure that, you're buying, I guess, the latest and greatest hardware that incorporates that as well, or integrates it, or whatever. You guys know what I'm saying, has the availability for it. The new standard was only ratified by the FCC in April, so there are no consumer 6E access points yet. So even if you buy this phone, will you be able to take advantage of 6E yet? Maybe if, you can get your hands on hardware that can do it, but who knows how long that'll be. And by then your 2 or 3 month old phone might be coming out of date when OnePlus decides to release a newer device another 2 or 3 months down the road after that. We've got to start somewhere, though, and it looks like smartphones will make the jump first. Qualcomm's press release mentions that one of the first phones to launch with the Snap 865 Plus and presumably Wi-Fi 6E will be the Asus ROG Phone 3, which will be unveiled July 22nd. So that's the news I have for the Snap 865 Plus. don't know if any of you are excited about it. I still don't own a phone that has a Snapdragon 865. I don't know when I will.